Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. So today's video, I want to just speak briefly on the importance of separation, why God separates us in the first place, what he expects from us in those seasons, and how we can effectively use those seasons. This is the biggest thing I would say God taught me on my year abroad, because I was literally separated from my family, my friends. I was in a different culture, different time zone. I was taken away from my normal life, and this was like a huge season of separation for me. And in that sort of wilderness, God taught me why it's so important to be separated, and so I thought I'll share that with you guys. Many of us will go through those seasons in life, be it physically, emotionally, or just spiritually, where we feel separated, and that can bring a lot of fear. But I want to just encourage you guys that there's a purpose in those seasons, and there's a reason why God does these things to us. As believers, we've already been separated to a certain extent. We've been separated from the world. There's a difference and a distinction between someone who follows Jesus and someone who is following the patterns and fashions of the world. So we've already experienced the separation, and I think that initial separation is something that can be tough for us, but we know, okay, you know what, this is what God requires, and we can see the purpose of these. But I think where it gets tough is where God may separate us from other believers, or where God may take us away from communities and away from what we know to be familiar, and call us into that wilderness. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying community isn't important. Community is very, very important. It's almost essential in our walk. We need accountability, and we need people and other believers to fellowship with. But there is also a separation that sometimes takes place where God calls you away from those groups, or God calls you away from those friendships and wants you to be alone. Separation is different from isolation. Separation to be with God is a great thing. Isolation away from God and others is terrible. In Proverbs it says the one who isolates himself is unwise. So that's not something we should seek intentionally and daily. But if you believe God is calling you away for a season or away for a period of time to be alone with him, then you must obey him, because there's reasons. Psalm 27, God says, "Seek my face." And the psalmist says, "Your face, Lord, will I seek." Some of us need to begin to seek the face of the Lord, for the face of the Lord, and seek him as an individual. Enter into that wilderness season and say, you know what, it's me and God now. Lord, I want to know you. I've had enough from being fed from someone else who's feeding me. I want to sit at your table. I want to be fed from your banquet. I want to know you for myself and know how I can learn from you and become more and more like you. God wants each and every one of us to know him intimately, so that in those times where we find ourselves alone, or in those times where we find ourselves being separated, we can stand. And that's something I came to understand when I went abroad. I was taken away from the fellowship group I had been so accustomed to. I sort of found my identity in that fellowship group. I sort of found my understanding of God in that fellowship group. And so when I was taken away from that, I was kind of shaken, let me not lie. The first 2 months in my time in Singapore, I was really finding my feet. I was really coming to understand, okay, God, what does it look like apart from all of that? What if it's just me and you? What if there's no one here that I can really go to or rely on? What if I don't have that network, that familiarity? How will I respond? And that's when God said to me, seek my face. So many examples in the Bible where God used people, but before he could use them, he had to separate them. Firstly, Moses. When Moses received the 10 commandments, he was alone with God on Mount Sinai for 40 days. It was just him and God. Secondly, when Elijah was running from Jezebel because she wanted to kill him, he ran from Jezebel and he left other prophets. He even left the servant behind, and he was alone. And it was in that moment that the angel of the Lord strengthened him, that the angel of the Lord fed him, and then he went on that journey 40 days, and after which he performed many signs and wonders. Jesus Christ, he had his 40 days in the wilderness. He had his time of separation before public ministry. And even in his public ministry, Jesus Christ often separated himself from the 12 other followers, other believers, other Jews, and went to pray, to be alone with God. There is importance in that separation. There is importance in that season of being alone with God. Don't be afraid of your separation. Don't be afraid to be alone in a season. Don't be afraid to come away from what you know to be familiar and just learn from God, because it's in those seasons of separation that we actually understand the face of God for who he is, and we don't have on that lens that we have had on for so long, where we see it through the way another person sees it. But God begins to teach us through his word who he is. If that's you, I just want to encourage you to look out for ways maybe you've depended on man and you've not depended fully on God, in ways in which you've trusted in man and not in God, and just go back to God and say, Lord, do I actually know you? Like, do I know you for myself? If I was to be taken away from everything, will I know you? Or is that all built upon other people, communities, circles? Is there a level of intimacy where it's just me and you? Or is that just because of the people I'm around? We need to ask ourselves these questions and really evaluate where we are. God is looking for intimacy, and God is looking for a people who will cry and call out to him and seek his face in the quietness of their heart, in that secret place where no one else is there. That's what God desires, and that's what pleases the heart of God. So yeah, that's the end of my video, guys. Hope it's encouraged you. Something that was just quite on my heart to share. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to share them in the description below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.